Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We are going to continue talking about the death of the dollar. Could it be that our dollar is about to go through a change? Could it be that our inflation is about to go crazy? Could it be that products and goods and services are about to triple again, maybe even a 10-to-1 return, as in things get 10 times more expensive? Headline: Turkey vows to keep buying Iranian oil. We will not obey, that say. This comes from the Washington Examiner, July 24th, 2018. Turkey will continue to purchase oil from Iran. Turkey plans to keep purchasing Iranian oil in defiance of American sanctions on the rogue regime. Quote, "We buy oil from Iran, and we purchase it in proper conditions." Kozlusovs, I can't even say this guy's name, comments raise the specter of yet another clash between the U.S. and Turkey, which is also in the final stages of an arms deal with Russia that could trigger American sanctions. These Turkish officials, in both cases, have dismissed the U.S. threat of sanctions to constrain the choices of other countries. While we are explaining why we will not obey these sanctions, we have also expressed that we do not find these U.S. sanctions appropriate. The Trump administration hopes to isolate Iran and deprive the regime of access to international sources of revenue. Okay, you got that? So Trump is trying to cut off Iranian oil. He's trying to pressure them into agreeing to get rid of their nukes, kind of like he did with North Korea. Now let's go on. That might be used to refinance nuclear weapons program or regional aggression by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the regime's terrorist proxies. Quote, anytime sanctions are in place, countries have to give up economic activity. So the Americans have given up economic activity for an awfully long time, and I'll concede there are American companies who would love to do business with the Islamic Republic of Iran. But everyone is going to have to participate in this. This is said by Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State. Turkey has pledged to consummate an agreement to purchase Russian S-400 anti-aircraft defenses despite strong pushback from NATO allies and U.S. sanctions on the Russian defense industry. But this guy says that they're taking a hard line on the oil sanctions, and Turkey's biggest oil importer is cutting back on deals with Iran without eliminating the sales entirely. So what we're talking about is Iran, of course, is about to be sanctioned by the U.S. Turkey says, we don't care. We're going to continue to buy Iran's oil in defiance of America. So how does this relate to Bible prophecy? Does it? Oh, you better believe it does. Let's go to Shane Warren. Now remember, Shane Warren is the guy that says there's a 400-year judgment cycle. He's also the guy that says that America's judgment arrives in 2021. Quote, Shane says the devaluing of our dollar caused rioting in the streets, looting with signs saying, I want my entitlements. He says, I saw in the vision of this meeting, and I saw these world leaders talking about how to devalue the American currency. How? Oh, listen to how he says how. By buying oil with another currency, somehow or another, that would drive down the value of the American dollar. Okay, let's stop just a second. So what Shane is saying is he saw these other countries trying to buy oil with another currency. In case you don't know, pretty much around the globe, all oil is transacted, bought, and sold through the use of the U.S. dollar. Now, let's go back to what he says. He says, notice the storm of falling dollars came when the enemies of America decided to buy oil with gold. You got that? Buying oil with gold. He says, I saw great inflation taking place, an economic storm. I saw that riots began to break out all across America. Major cities all over America broke out in riots. People were rioting in the streets, and on their sign I saw, "Give us our entitlements. Give us our entitlements." He said it was literally war. He says, it looked like civil war within our borders, but it was all over the issue of the devaluing of the American dollar. And then I was caught up. I was sitting in a room. Oh, and listen to this. I was sitting in a room with world leaders. I can tell you I saw it. Now, please listen to these three nations. Remember these three nations. I can tell you I saw China, Iran, and Russia was there. And here's what was amazing. Putin was there. Putin himself. And he just got elected. Now, that kind of tells us that this is close because Putin was just elected. I didn't look it up, but it was just here a few months ago. Putin was just reelected. I don't know how often they get reelected over there. I don't know whether it's a 4-year and 8-year term, but he was just reelected. I know that. Let's go on. Churches became cities of refuge. The body of Christ stood up like a mighty sleeping giant in the earth and began to minister. People were coming to the church. I saw signs and wonders and miracles being poured out all over America. Hold on. You remember I told you August the 8th of 2015, I heard the audible voice of God speak to me and say, this is the time of miracles. And it was downloaded in my heart that as the judgment or as the difficulty hit, so would the miracles. That God is going to show up with his miracles and meet the devil step by step, inch for inch, pound for pound, in everything he does. But what brought the miracles, the signs and the wonders, was difficulty hitting. Now, these guys are saying that it had to do with devaluing the currency, and that had to do with the purchase of oil with gold. Oh, this is real good, and it's about to get a whole lot better. Let's go on, though. I saw people coming back to the church. I saw America being shaken as the worldly could no longer go to the government for help anymore. They had to go to the church for help. I literally saw cities of refuge. Entire cities became cities of refuge, where the scripture talks about there was rain in one city and no rain in another city. He says, I saw that. I saw people were plunging into these cities because there was life there. There was glory there. The presence of God was there. And there was peace there. And they were running to that peace, and revival was breaking out. I believe that we have a two-sided coin taking place. On the one hand, judgment is beginning. On the other hand, miracles. Isn't that what God just told me? August 8th, 2015? Always when judgment comes, there's always mercy. He said, I saw great inflation taking place. Please hear. Let me repeat it. I saw great inflation taking place. I saw an economic storm hitting America. He says, now, I know everybody is saying that the economy is turning around, and my message is doom and gloom. But my message is power and boom, as in explosion. He said, listen, God's going to get glory here. God is going to raise his church up, and people are going to see signs, wonders, and miracles. But I'm telling you that the economic storm is not over. It's far from over. The wind has yet to escalate. The economic wind has yet to escalate. I saw great inflation. Now let's go back to the news. Headline: Freedom again denied for American preacher jailed in Turkey. You see, it seems like God is bringing a rift between America and Turkey. The article goes on to say, despite dire warnings from Washington, a Turkish court on Tuesday refused to release an American Protestant preacher who has been detained there on charges related to a failed coup 2 years ago. Andrew Brunson of Black Mountain, North Carolina, spent nearly 21 months in a Turkish jail on charges that his supporters contend are fabricated. Well, last week, as you recall, our vice president stood up and said, Turkey, you're going to release this minister, you're going to release this Andrew Brunson, or we're going to bring sanctions against you. What kind of sanctions would those be? Probably have to do with cutting off oil. Because again, one of the ways that America controls the whole world is by controlling the flow of oil. And they can control that flow not because they have all the oil, but because they control the dollar, you see, my brothers and sisters. That's the point I'm getting at. All right, now let's go on. Next headline. U.S. softens demand that countries stop all Iran oil imports. It's from New York Times, dated July 2nd, 2018. The Trump administration is softening its earlier demand that countries like China, India, and Turkey end all imports of Iranian oil by November 4. November 4. Okay, let's just stop a second. Is that saying that we could possibly see the sales of Iranian oil for gold by November the 4th? Could that be saying that we could be seeing some kind of a major financial catastrophe taking place in America, and all of a sudden signs, wonders, and miracles begin to break out in America? Again, I told you, not just me, but now we have Shane Warren saying that as the judgment hits, so will miracles. As I was told, August 8th of 2015, as the judgment hits, so will miracles. And then July the 6th of 2018, the prophet Sundar Salvarez just had 4 angels come to him and tell him that miracles are about to break out, and that those miracles would be, and I quote it here, powers of the age to come. And the angels said that the angels have never seen miracles like what is about to break out. Now, I say I'm bringing you good news, but I'm bringing you good news in the face of trouble. What it's saying is, it could very well be saying, and this is the point of the broadcast here, is that if we squeeze Iran, if we cause Iran not to be able to sell its oil using dollars, we may be forcing Iran to sell its oil with gold, fulfilling the vision that Shane Warren saw. I'm just saying, brothers and sisters, all of this, I mean, over the next year, I don't know, 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, I don't know, but over the next season. See, look. I mean, sometimes I can't even talk for trying to choose my words carefully, lest somebody say, oh, Stan and the Prophecy Club, they've gone off the deep end. They're setting dates. Look, I'm not trying to set dates. I don't know. I'm only trying to say, brothers and sisters, it is in the season. There's a bump in the road. I can't exactly see the bump. I don't exactly know where the ditch is, but the prophets are saying it's up there. I don't know when it's coming, but there's a big bump coming, and it's a financial bump, and that financial bump is going to bring signs, wonders, and miracles, double portion miracles like you and I have never seen, meaning this whole business about the fall of America in 2021, I don't even want to accept that. I don't even want to say that. And I sure don't want to believe that Jesus is going to return in 2028. But a lot of things pointing in that direction. Let's go on with the article. It says, we are prepared to work with countries that are reducing their imports on a case-by-case basis. Now, that's America talking. His announcement was a delicate attempt at reassuring oil markets and allies that sanctions are not likely to hit them this fall, even if Iranian oil continues to flow around the world, as is likely the case. India, South Korea, and Turkey, all allies or friends of the United States, are major importers of oil from Iran. The United States expected global imports of Iranian oil to go to zero by November 4. Did you hear that? In other words, the United States is saying we are going to cut off Iranian oil by November 4. We are going to stop Iranian oil sales by November 4. That's what they're saying. No, there's more. Let's go on. When Washington will reimpose sanctions against Tehran's energy sector, the announcement sent oil prices soaring, and markets have been on the edge ever since. That official had briefed reporters on condition of anonymity to predict that it was unlikely, but not impossible, that some importers would be given waivers to protect them from penalties after buying Iranian oil. So, America's trying to cut off Iranian oil sales. Then Donald Trump calls King Salman of Saudi Arabia and explained to him that he wants Saudi Arabia to increase their oil sales by 2 million barrels to make up the difference so that the prices won't go high when America cuts off Iranian oil sales. Now, do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying that all of a sudden it looks a whole lot like Iran might not stop their oil sales, but they might fulfill the prophecy of the vision shown to Shane Warren and start selling oil for gold. Headline: Iran announces plan to circumvent U.S. oil sanctions. This comes to us from DW.com. Says Tehran has vowed to defeat attempts to curb its oil revenues by allowing private companies to export it. Iran also reminded Saudi Arabia that it was bound by an OPEC agreement to only boost exports collectively, meaning Iran is trying to say to Saudi Arabia, you can't boost your oil sales like Trump is asking you to do. You see, Iran is trying to keep its oil sales going. Let's go on to the article. Iran announced on Sunday that it would permit private companies to export oil crude as Tehran attempts to thwart U.S. sanctions against the country's oil industry. They say, we want to defeat America's efforts to stop Iranian oil exports. After the U.S. withdrew from Iranian nuclear deal in May, it said it would impose economic sanctions against Tehran by November. And the U.S. calls on countries to stop importing Iranian oil. Trump, Riyadh promises to make up the difference. So we have kind of a standoff going on right now. The article goes on to say, Jangari, this is apparently an Iranian, greeted Trump's comments with derision, saying they're begging the Saudis to raise their output so that if Iran's quota decreases, nothing will happen in terms of rising oil prices. At the same time, Iranian oil minister said any increase in the production by any member country, meaning Saudi Arabia, would be against or a breach of the agreement. The White House later specified, however, that the Saudi king went only as far as saying that country can raise oil production if needed. So there's a little fight there about who's going to be increasing the oil or not. Trump hit out at OPEC, accusing it of manipulating the oil markets. And he went on to say OPEC is, and they better stop it because we're protecting those countries, many of those countries. Trump said in an interview with a U.S. broadcaster that aired on Sunday. Trump also threatened to sanction European countries if they did business with Iran now. Of course, that's what we're saying, absolutely, said Trump. So, you can see that this little prophecy that they're going to start selling oil in gold or trading oil for gold in Iran, that little prophecy that said that there's going to be massive inflation in America and big problems across America and then signs and wonders, you can see that prophecy is about to come to pass over the next coming few months. Headline: India cuts June oil purchases from Iran on U.S. sanctions. Okay, so what it's about to say is India is cooperating with the United States. India has already begun to reduce its oil purchases from Iran. And, of course, India is good friends with America, and so India is probably exactly going to do that. They're going to stop purchasing so much Iranian oil. Now, again, what this is doing, brothers and sisters, this is bringing pressure on Iran because, I mean, look, Iran's primarily source of income is oil, okay? If they don't sell oil, they don't eat. So Iran has got to sell oil. They got to sell oil. Well, how do you think they're going to sell oil if they can't sell it in dollars? See, that's the big question. But what Shane was shown in this vision is that Iran will start selling oil and trading not the dollar, but trading it in gold. and that when that happens, the dollar is going to tank, and there's going to be great inflation in America. The dollar will no longer be the reserve currency. There's going to be big problems, and like Leslie was shown in her vision, the fish started jumping out of the mud into our boat, the boat representing Jesus. In other words, there's about to, look, okay. The bad side is there's about to be financial problems in America. I don't know when, but that's the next season. That's the next thing to happen. Financial problems, and that's all involved with Iran selling their oil for gold. And when that trouble hits, we're about to see double portion miracles. We're about to see miracles like nobody going back to Adam has ever seen. That's what God spoke to me. Audible voice, I promise. I'm not lying. August 8th, 2015. These are the times of miracles. Not just to me, but to Salvarez and also to Shane Warren. So we got three people, three ministers of the gospel. One of them for sure is a prophet, meaning Sundar Salvarez. Three of them all saying the same thing. Three of them saying that there's about to be a financial storm, and when that storm hits, God shows up with signs, wonders, and miracles. Now, we want to say hallelujah to the signs, wonders, and miracles. We don't want to see the economic problems come. And that's the reason you want to join Fast Track. By the way, if you're not already a Fast Track member, go to prophecyclub.com. Get signed up, quit anytime you want to. I never sell things. I never ask for donations from my precious Fast Track team. This is only for fasting and for prayer. That's all. All. Never ask for donation. Never send product offers. Anyway, back to the article. Headline was India cuts June oil purchases from Iran on U.S. sanctions. So it says, U.S. sanctions on Iran are about to kick in later this year. Iranian oil refiners reduced their orders from Iranian crude in June by 12%. Some big Indian refiners worry that their access to U.S. financial system could be cut off. In other words, you can't sell in dollars, okay, if they continue to import Iranian oil, and have started to reduce purchases from Tehran. See, it's all having to do with oil and America cutting off the sale of Iranian oil in dollars. I can see that coming to pass so easy. So Iran says, okay, fine. You won't let us sell oil? We have to sell oil. You won't let us sell oil in dollars? So Iran puts out the message, we have oil to sell, and we're selling it for gold. And so they start trading in gold. They go around the dollar, and then not just Iran, but what happens if China starts doing that? Turkey starts doing that. Venezuela and many of the other countries start selling gold. All of a sudden, they start going around the dollar. Well, what does that mean? All right, well, see, the thing that makes the dollar strong is everybody got to have it right now. You want to buy rice? Germany wants to buy rice from Japan. Well, they got to have dollars. They got to have a lot of dollars on sale or on hand, because here's the way it works. See, Germany goes up and gets a handful of dollars, and Japan goes up and grabs a handful of dollars. Then they exchange in dollars, and then they ship the rice. Well, in this case, it's oil. But oil is a lot bigger than rice, and it goes around the globe, and everybody's got to have it, and Iran's got to sell it. And it's not just Iran. It's Venezuela. China got to have it. I mean, all of a sudden, these countries, all of a sudden, America can't stop the sale of oil for gold. If they can't stop it with Iran, brothers and sisters, you saw the other nations there. It was China, Iran, Turkey is going to be there, India. I mean, what happens all of a sudden? These countries start selling oil for gold. They start buying their oil in gold. They're going around the dollar. Then there's a flush of dollars in the world. There's too many dollars, so these other nations start dumping their dollars. What does that do for the value of the dollar? Crash. Miracles start. Now, I'm happy to see the miracles. I want to see them. You want to see them? But I don't think we want to pay the price to see them. Headline: Iran threatens to block Strait of Hormuz over U.S. oil sanctions. This comes to us from The Guardian, dated July 5th, 2018. The president of Iran has said Iran nuclear activities have always been for peaceful purposes. And if you believe that, I've got some coastal property in Kansas for sale. I don't have any Kansas property, but I don't have to worry about selling it. A potential confrontation between the U.S. and Iran is brewing in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, you understand the Strait of Hormuz is where like 1/5 of the world's oil flows through there. It's only 20 miles wide, flows right by Iran, and with a big rock, Iran can basically put a stop to it. The Trump administration is demanding all countries end exports of Iranian oil by November 4th as part of its new policy of hostility towards Tehran after Washington's unilateral exit from the 2015 nuclear agreement. Iran's president has responded during a rare visit to Europe, and he's basically saying, we're not going to go along. The commander of Iran's elite revolutionary guards, whose forces patrol the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil passes in tankers, said, we are ready to put Rouhani's words into action if necessary. In other words, we are ready to close the Strait of Hormuz. We do that, brothers and sisters, and we have a war. They went on to say, we will make the enemy understand that either everyone can use the Strait of Hormuz or no one will. The Americans have claimed they want to completely stop Iranians' oil exports, but they don't understand the meaning of this statement because it has no meaning for Iranian oil not to be exported while the region's oil is exported. If you can do such a thing, do it and see the result, Rouhani added. In other words, we have America and Iran in a standoff. Iran says, we're going to sell our oil. America says, no, you're not. We'll cut off your oil sales in dollars because you got to sell it in dollars. Iran is saying, no. We're going to sell our oil. And what the prophets say is they're going to start selling oil in gold. And when they do, the dollar falls in value, 1 in 10. Things get really expensive. There's riots in the cities. And all of a sudden, miracles break out. Back to the article. If Trump implements his threat to squeeze Iran's oil exports, Tehran is prepared to escalate against the U.S. to impose direct costs for global oil markets. This is a core issue of national security behind which there is growing backing from the political establishment. And what they're saying is, we are going to sell oil. Despite the U.S.'s withdrawal, the deal has not yet collapsed as Europe remains committed to salvaging it. Europe is also going to continue buying oil from Iran. So it's really all over oil. Also at stake is Rouhani's political career. The article goes on to say how Rouhani is about to lose his position as leader of Iran if he loses these oil sales. Of course, as you've been watching the news, there's rampant problems and protests in Iran right now. Matter of fact, the article goes on to say that this Rouhani is risking becoming a lame duck if he can't keep oil sales going, and Iran right now is going through weeks of protests due to currency crisis and environmental issues. Next headline. Iran looks to barter oil as U.S. sanctions bite. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. My point is, it looks to me like, based upon news, based upon the prophets, it looks to me like we are about to see, over the process of the next coming months, Iran begin to sell oil for gold, causing the dollar to fall, causing things in America to get expensive, and God's going to show up with signs, wonders, and miracles. Now, it is summertime. Things are really tight for us. God has blessed you, and you could help us. Now would be a really, really good time to do so. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.